Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R CBS Spoiler Today channel. Okay, stop whatever you are doing right now. Because what Victor Newman has just pulled off in Genoa City is so cold, so calculated, and so deeply personal that I genuinely had to sit down for a second before I could even talk about it. So, here is the short version before we deep dive. Victor Newman, in one of the most jaw-dropping power moves we have ever seen on this show, handed control of Chancellor Industries over to Lily Winters, not a co-leadership arrangement, not a trial run, not a seat on the board, the whole thing, and in doing so, he didn't just make a business decision, he ripped the rug out from under Nikki Newman, the woman who has stood by his side through decades of chaos, betrayal, love, and war. The fallout from this single move is shaken every corner of Genoa City, and honestly, we are nowhere near the end of this story. Let me take you back to where this all really starts, because you need to understand just how long this pressure has been building before it finally exploded. Victor Newman is not a man who acts impulsively. Everything he does, every handshake, every silence, every cold stare across a boardroom table is intentional. So when he made this move with Chancellor Industries, you better believe it had been brewing in his mind for a long time. The storm was forming quietly, the way the worst storms always do. And when it finally broke, nobody in Genoa City was truly ready for it. Least of all Nikki. Now Nikki Newman is not a naive woman. She has lived inside Victor's world long enough to know how ruthless he can be. She has watched him dismantle enemies, outmaneuver rivals, and sacrifice relationships on the altar of ambition more times than she can probably count. But there was always this one thing she held onto, this deep, unshakable belief that she was different, that no matter how cold he got with everyone else, she was the one person Victor would never truly move against. She was his equal, his partner, the one he always came back to. And that belief, that sense of security, she had built her entire identity around inside this relationship. Victor just took a sledgehammer to it. Because here is the thing about what he did. Handing Chancellor to Lily wasn't just a business transaction, it was a message. And Nikki received it loud and clear. Chancellor Industries wasn't just some company in Nikki's life. It was a symbol of everything she had fought for, everything she had earned, everything that said to the world and to herself that she mattered, that she had power, that she wasn't just Victor Newman's wife, but a force in her own right. And in one move, Victor took all of that and placed it in someone else's hands. Someone younger, someone newer. And that cut so much deeper than any corporate loss ever could. Now let's talk about Lily for a second, because her side of the story is just as layered and complicated as Nikki's. When Lily walked into whatever room that handover happened in, she was expecting a conversation, maybe a negotiation. Maybe Victor was going to offer her something, a role, a partnership, some kind of expanded opportunity. What she was absolutely not prepared for was Victor essentially saying, "Here, take the whole thing. Take Chancellor, it's yours." And for just a moment, you could see it on her face. That genuine, almost disbelieving shock, because even for someone as sharp and driven as Lily Winters, that is a staggering thing to have 100 handed to you. But here is what I love about Lily. That shock didn't last long. Almost as quickly as it appeared, something else replaced it. That quiet, steely kind of determination that tells you this woman knows exactly what she is doing and exactly what she is walking into. She understood almost immediately that this wasn't a gift being given out of generosity. Victor Newman doesn't do generosity without strategy. This was a chess move, and Lily, being Lily, decided she was going to play the game. But accepting it came with a cost she probably wasn't fully prepared for emotionally. And we will get into that. Because while Lily was stepping into her new role with confidence, Nikki was back at the Newman ranch having what I can only describe as a reckoning. She confronted Victor, and it wasn't a quiet, tearful conversation behind closed doors. It was a full on emotional explosion, the kind that rattles walls and strips away every layer of pretense between two people. Nikki demanded answers. She demanded to know how he could do this to her, how he could take something so personally significant and hand it to someone else without even a conversation, without warning, without so much as a moment of consideration for what it would mean to her. And Victor, and this is the part that gets me every single time with this man. Victor stood there and explained himself with the kind of cold, composed logic that somehow makes everything worse. He wasn't apologetic, he wasn't conflicted, he laid out his reasoning like a business case. Lily was the future. This was necessary. This was the move that would secure the empire going forward. And in his mind, that was supposed to be enough. That was supposed to make it okay. It didn't. Not even close. When news of this started spreading through Genoa City, the reactions were all over the place. And that's exactly what we'd expect in a town where everybody's business is everybody else's business. Some people looked at Lily taking the reins of Chancellor and saw it as bold, exciting, a sign that things were changing and maybe changing for the better. These were the people who respected Victor's ability to recognize talent and make difficult calls. But there were plenty of others who looked at the same situation and felt deeply uneasy. Because regardless of your feelings about the business logic, the personal dimension of what happened was impossible to ignore. And for the people who care about Nikki, who have watched her fight and claw her way to every ounce of respect she commands, seeing her treated this way felt like a gut punch. Meanwhile, Lily stepped into Chancellor and immediately felt the weight of the scrutiny pressing down on her. And I want you to really picture what that would feel like. Walking into a company where every single person in every single hallway is watching you, not with open hostility necessarily, but with that quiet reserved judgment that is honestly so much worse. People were polite to her face. Colleagues offered congratulations, but behind closed doors, the whispers were relentless. Had she played a role in this? Had she somehow maneuvered Victor into making this decision? Was she actually as capable as Victor seemed to think? Or was this going to fall apart spectacularly? Lily heard those whispers, or at least felt their presence, and rather than letting them pull her into self doubt, she used them as fuel. Every doubt someone had about her became a reason to work harder, think sharper, and move faster. But here is something that I think is really important to acknowledge, and it speaks to who Lily actually is as a person. Even as she was establishing her authority and pushing forward with confidence, she couldn't stop thinking about Nikki. She kept replaying that moment, the devastation on Nikki's face when the announcement was made, and it sat with her in a way she probably didn't expect. She told herself this was business. She told herself she hadn't asked for this outcome, hadn't engineered it, hadn't gone looking for it. And all of this, that is probably true, but the guilt lingered anyway, like a shadow she couldn't quite step out of, a constant quiet reminder that her rise was inseparable from someone else's fall. Back on Victor's end, and I want to be fair here, even though it is really hard to be fair to this man right now, he genuinely believed he was making the right call. In his worldview, this was about the future of the empire. It was about adaptability and strength and making the kind of tough decision that weak men avoid. He looked at the landscape and decided that Lily was the person best positioned to carry Chancellor forward, and he acted on that belief without hesitation or apology. That is very Victor. But what is also becoming very clear is that even Victor, with all of this experience and emotional armor, could not entirely ignore what he had done to Nikki. There was something in him, small, maybe suppressed, but present, that recognized the personal wreckage he had caused. He just didn't let it change anything. Now let's talk about what happened in the weeks after, because this is where the story really opens up into something massive. Nikki did not retreat. I want to say that clearly because I think some people expected her to go quiet, to pull back, maybe even to fold. And that tells me those people have not been paying attention to Nikki Newman for the last several decades instead of disappearing. She got busy. She started making calls. She started pulling at threads. She reached out to allies she had built relationships with over years of navigating Genoa City's cutthroat landscape. People who owed her favors, people who respected her, people who maybe weren't so sure about Victor's latest move. She wasn't looking for sympathy. She was building an army, and what had been heartbreak and devastation slowly, deliberately transformed into something far more dangerous, a strategy. At the same time, Lily was deep in the work of trying to actually run Chancellor, which turned out to be significantly more complicated than even she anticipated. It wasn't just the external pressure from Nikki's quiet campaign, it was the internal resistance too. There were executives inside Chancellor who weren't happy about the transition, who felt their own positions threatened or their loyalties divided, and who subtly pushed back against everything Lily tried to do. A delayed approval here, a misdirected communication there, small acts of resistance that individually meant nothing but collectively were designed to make her look ineffective. Lily saw it for what it was and refused to be derailed by it. She started making changes, restructuring, introducing new initiatives, signaling with every single decision that she was not there to maintain the comfortable old way of doing things. She was there to build something better, and then things escalated. Because Nikki, having regrouped and strategized, made her first major move. And it was clever. I will give her that rather than charging directly at Lily in a way that would look personal and emotional. She started targeting the infrastructure, contracts that Chancellor needed suddenly hit unexpected delays. Partnerships that had seemed solid started developing complications. Whispers about instability began circulating in exactly the circles where Chancellor needed to protect strength and confidence. It was surgical, it was patient, and it was very, very Nikki. Lily felt it happening almost immediately. And, to her credit, she didn't panic. She recognized what was going on, understood the message being sent, and began pushing back with equal precision. And just like that, what had started as a personal betrayal between Victor and Nikki evolved into a full scale strategic war between two extraordinary, capable women, each fighting for something that meant the world to her. Victor sat back and watched all of it unfold. And here's the thing about Victor in this moment. There was a part of him that saw this as the test he had been waiting for. Could Lily hold her ground under real pressure? Could she demonstrate not just competence but resilience? And as for Nikki, well, he was watching to see just how far she was willing to go. But something else was happening too. Something that even Victor's considerable ability for emotional detachment couldn't fully contain. The fracture in his relationship with Nikki was deepening with every passing day, and people around him were starting to notice that for the first time in a very long time, Victor Newman might have made a move he couldn't fully walk back from. Here is what I think is so significant about everything that has happened here. Beyond the drama and the spectacle of it all, this situation has fundamentally changed the power dynamics of Genoa City in ways that are going to echo for a long, long time. Because what Victor did wasn't just transfer control of a company, he cracked something open. He revealed, maybe for the first time in a raw and undeniable way, that even Nikki Newman is not immune to being displaced in Victor's calculations. And once that truth is out there, once people have seen it happen, the entire world around Victor shifts. Allies start wondering if they're next. Enemies start sensing opportunity, and the two women at the center of all of this are now locked in a conflict that has moved way beyond the business world and into something deeply, intensely personal. For Lily, this is genuinely a defining moment. If she can hold Chancellor through this storm, if she can fend off Nikki's challenges and prove to be the board and to the industry that she deserves to be there, then she will have earned something that Victor's handover could never fully give her: legitimacy, real, undeniable, nobody can take it away, legitimacy. But if the cracks start showing, if Nikki's pressure starts bending things in Chancellor's foundation, then the narrative flips completely, and Lily's entire position becomes fragile in a way that could unravel fast. For Nikki, this is about something even bigger than winning back a company or evening a score. This is about identity. This is about proving to Victor, to Generosity, and most importantly to herself that she cannot be discarded, that she's not someone you tuck away on a shelf when you are done with her. The fire that has been reignited in Nikki right now is the kind that doesn't go out easily. And I think anyone who underestimates what she's capable of when she is fighting for her dignity is making a very serious mistake. And Victor, I keep coming back to Victor because I think there is something happening with him here that is genuinely new. There are real signs, for perhaps the first time, that even he is losing the thread a little bit. That the empire he has built with such meticulous precision is developing cracks in places he didn't account for. Not because his business instincts were wrong necessarily, but because he miscalculated something far more volatile than market trends or corporate strategy, human emotion. Okay, here is where I get to be fully honest with you all. And I hope you are ready because I have thoughts. Victor Newman has always been the kind of character you love to watch even when, especially when he is doing something terrible. There is something undeniably compelling about a man who moves through the world with that level of confidence and strategic clarity. But this one feels different to me. Because for all of his brilliance, I think Victor made a fundamental error. Not in the business decision itself, but in the way he executed it. The absolute absence of consideration for what this would mean to Nikki on a deeply human, emotional level speaks to a blind spot in Victor that I think is finally catching up with him. Lily, on the other hand, I'm genuinely rooting for her in a complicated way. Because, yes, she benefits from what happened to Nikki, and that is uncomfortable. But Lily didn't create this situation. She walked into it, recognized the complexity of it, and has been trying to handle it with more integrity than most people would. The fact that she thinks about Nikki, that she carries the weight of how this all came about, that tells you something real about her character. But if I'm being completely real with you, the person I find most fascinating in all of this right now is Nikki. Because there is something about a person who has been knocked down at the most fundamental level, not just professionally but personally, by the person they trusted most in the world and who responds not by breaking but by building. The transformation from devastation to strategy, from grief to action, is extraordinary to watch. And I honestly believe Nikki is playing a game right now that nobody, including Victor, is fully tracking. She doesn't need a title to win. She never has. And I think that is exactly what Victor is starting to realize. Way too late. So here is where we land. Victor Newman set a bomb off in the middle of his own life and told himself it was a controlled explosion. Lily Winters is standing at the helm of Chancellor trying to prove she belongs there while fighting off one of the most formidable women Genoa City has ever produced. And Nikki Newman, written off by the man she loved, is quietly and methodically reminding everyone exactly who she is. This war is nowhere close to over, and I genuinely believe the next major move in this story is going to flip the entire thing on its head in ways none of us are expecting. Now I want to hear from you, and I mean really hear from you on this one. Do you think Lily can hold her ground, or is Nikki going to find a way to dismantle everything Victor handed her? Do you think Victor is starting to lose control of his own empire, or is this all still exactly according to his plan? And most importantly, whose side are you actually on right now? Lily or Nikki? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one, and let's talk about this because this story deserves the conversation. If you are not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button right now because the channel is where we break all of it down. And trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. Hit the thumbs up if this video had you as invested as I was writing it. And I will see you in the next one.